A host of new wildlife emerges at high summer, many of the species truly iconic of the English countryside.
These two young rabbits are feeding on fresh green grass in Millersdale. A distinctive mammal of just about every habitat in the Peak District, they can be spotted at any time of the day and live together in large groups which dig interconnected burrows collectively called warrens. A horrific virus called myxomatosis was introduced to curb population size in the 1950s, and since then it has decimated numbers down to 99% of their original size. But the rabbits have survived and adapted, generally being more solitary and not gathering in such large groups anymore. Wherever they are, there will usually be one rabbit not grazing, but scanning the horizon for predators. If one is spotted, the rabbit stamps his back foot on the ground, and the surrounding rabbits run down the nearest burrow. Rabbits move by hopping, and their powerful hind legs have a thick padding to facilitate quick movement and to dampen the shock of rapid jumps. It comes as a surprise to many that rabbits are not native to Britain, but were most likely introduced by the Romans 2,000 years ago. A cousin of the rabbit, the larger hare, is a native to Britain. Unlike rabbits, hares do not bear their young below ground in a burrow, but rather in a shallow depression of flattened grass called a form. They also live at much smaller densities and spend their time low to ground in fields and meadows. They are primarily nocturnal and adapted to run very fast, well over 40 miles an hour in fact. When hares mate in the spring, they can be observed to box each other. Originally believed to be males fighting over a female, it is in fact a female fighting a male. She is not ready to mate. When she is, she will run across the field, causing the other males to pursue her, and when only the fittest is left in pursuit, she will stop and allow copulation. Ancient pagans associated the hare with reproduction and fertility, and believed that their spring mating dance helped the earth to grow. Boudicca was said to have released a hare as a good omen before each battle, and to divine the outcome by the hare's movements. She even took a hare into battle to ensure victory, and Romans reported it hearing it scream from within her cloak. In later mythology, hares were often said to be kept by witches as familiars, and many witches could transform themselves into hares. One such tale survives from Old Hag Farm in the Staffordshire Moorlands. In the early 17th century, the old witch of the Frith would, for a small fee paid to her and her husband, turn herself into a hare and allow the dogs to chase her. She always managed to run faster than the dogs and disappeared at a particular hole in the fence. But once, as she was dashing through the usual gap, the nearest dog managed to sink its fangs into her and tear out a chunk of fur. When the huntsman looked over the wall, there sat the old lady soothing her hare over a gaping wound in her forehead. Another creature steeped in legend is the cuckoo, a dove-sized bird with a blue-grey body and dark barred white underparts. Visiting in early summer, the birds are parasites, laying their eggs in the nests of other birds. On the moorland here, it will most probably be meadow pipits. All birds have different patterns to their eggs, and the cuckoos have evolved to specifically mimic the eggs of certain birds. If the pattern laid is not a perfect match, then the host bird will notice and knock it out of the nest. Once the baby cuckoo hatches, it either eats or kicks the other young out of the nest and quickly grows to full size. The cuckoo is said to be an omen of bad luck, and if you count its calls, it will tell you how long you have left to live. Sadly, the bird has declined massively, with only around 15,000 breeding pairs now present in Britain. It is unusual to spot one, as they camouflage well among the trees, and usually just their distinctive call is heard echoing through the high air. This male was filmed on Revich, above the village of Worslow. Another unusual bird is the Stonechat. The size of a robin, but much more striking, with its sharp, loud call sounding like two stones being banged together. They brave the high moors in the spring and summer before retreating south for the colder winter. The males have striking black heads with a red chest. The females may lack the male's black head, but have a beautiful orange tinge to their chest. They are most frequently seen flitting around a perch, usually on a favourite bush, to catch insects in the evening sun. The lapwing is another moorland bird which has strongly declined. Its black and white appearance and round wing shape in flight make it distinctive, even without a close-up view of its splendid crest and black crown. In England, it is also known as the peewit, in imitation of its display calls. The common name lapwing can probably be attributed to its irregular flight. After mating, 3 to 4 eggs are laid in a small ground scrape. The young are defended aggressively against all intruders, including people and cattle. Sadly, the number of lapwings has declined dramatically in the last century. The biggest losses have been on farmland, somewhat ironically, as historically the bird was known as the farmer's friend. Ecologically, this old name has a scientific background, for the birds rid pastures of wireworms and water snails, carriers of the terrible liver fluke. The bird primarily feeds on insects, and in some parts of the country, especially in winter, it can form large flocks to defend against predators. But in the Peak District, such as here at Knotbury, it's rarely seen in huge numbers and scatters itself among the rough moorland pasture. You often find the birds become more active at dusk, and they love to feed on moths after dark when the moon lights up the high lands. In ancient Celtic legend, there were 7 whistlers to tell people of the coming of the end of the world. It is said that the lapwing cries to remind people of their presence.